Stand by, we're checking. 7037, if you receive any trawler calls in the vicinity of 4th Ave and Olympic City, please notify. Rampart 80, possible between 11 suspects, Alexandria and Beverly. Beverly and Alexandria, either driven on the tape, when advised, being followed by a blue Mitsubishi and on license plate.
2 cops, copy, log on. We good? Oh,
Whatever.
You're on day shift now. You got to be more lively about this.
It's only
No,
3.
it's going to take me a month before I get adjusted to that schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could ever get used to day shift. That is just...
I don't like waking up and going to work. I need some time to wake up and process whether I actually want to roll out of bed or not.
All right, Roxas, you ready?
Born ready.
I was going to ask if you're going to pop a beer open, but you have to work tonight.
Yep, there isn't going to be one of those right now.
Fuzz, what about you?
Yep.
You going to pop a beer open? Or?
Nope.
Hey, what time are you going to bed tonight?
Probably like 6:30.
Oh, holy crap, dude.
I have to get to work early tomorrow, and I have to change out.
Oh, he has to wear a uniform.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, and dinner's at what time? Dinner's in an hour?
Yeah, about, probably
All right.
less.
Okay, well, when we hear your mom yelling for you in the recording, you can just mute it. And we'll
I'm almost ready!
Mom, shut up! 5 more minutes! Put the meatloaf in the microwave!
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness, alright. Okay, alright. What are you doing, Fuzz?
Drinking?
A Capri Sun? You two and your children's drinks. I don't get it.
I got a Dr. Pepper right now, okay? Alright, welcome back, guys. This is episode 12. Fuzz is being annoying still. It's like from episode 3 to 12, the introductions are all Fuzz making weird noises.
3 to 12, he's acted like he's 12.
Yeah. See if he makes it to 13.
You're the one that's taken 4 minutes to get this started, and you still haven't officially done the intro and started.
All right, welcome back to episode 12, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for hanging out. This episode is going to be kind of short and sweet, but there's going to be a lot of information in here. This is kind of going back to a couple days ago, referencing 9/11 and such, and kind of looking at how law enforcement plays a role in the counterterrorism aspect of it. We're going to talk about our week in story time and such. We're going to talk about Fuzz's new position, some different stories, and then we're going to get right into the topic. Fuzz, let's start with your news story first. What do you have? Where's it from? And why does it have a goat in it? That's all
It's from Douglasville, Georgia, and it's the goat that climbs into the patrol car and eats the paperwork. That's what I have.
Does it actually eat the paperwork? Oh, it does. Look at that. It has a picture.
You can see the video, yeah.
All right, Ben, we're going to post this video.
Yep, so a Douglas County Sheriff's deputy was serving civil papers near Douglasville when she heard something in her patrol car and was met by a goat climbing into the open driver's door. The animal clambered around, chewed on some paperwork, and knocked over a drink before managing to bump the deputy to the ground. The sheriff's office explained in a Facebook post that the deputy often leaves the door open on such calls in case she has to make a quick escape from aggressive dogs, but she never considered having to retreat from an agitated goat. Officials said the deputy was not physically harmed, and she managed to retrieve the paperwork before the animal left.
Bro, I have so many questions.
I just don't understand why the door was left open.
Well, let's finish talking about it because I kind of have a story about this.
Like, who had a wild goat just climbing around?
Well, it is Georgia.
Yeah, it's Georgia.
I mean, I don't know where Douglasville is, but my question is she walks, I don't know, a good 50 yards from her car? with the
Yeah,
door open.
with the door. I don't
That
understand
would
that.
never fly. Like, I guess it is Georgia. Though. It's out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah,
right?
there are no neighbors there.
That's what gets me. In case she has to make a quick escape from aggressive dogs. I want you guys, if you guys are listening to this and you know Smith, who used to work with us, I want you to ask him about his goat story. I'm gonna tell a little bit of it. We used to work together, and we used to carpool because we both live out of town. We went to high school together, and one night he gets in the car to ride in with me, and he's like cussing and throwing crap. He's tired and irritated. I'm like, bro, what what are you doing? He's like, bro, I only got like 6 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep. I'm pissed off. I didn't go to bed until like noon. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what? Well, he had a goat encounter, and let's just say when it talks about the the goat bumped the deputy to the ground. This goat, and he'll tell you this in his story. This goat had him pinned up against trash cans. It was just headbutting him. And he finally roped it to the point that he could get it to go back, like drag it back or tie it up or something like that, and just left it tied up all day and went to bed.
Just
And I'm
stay
like,
out
dude,
there.
oh, dude, I was like, I would have tased it or something. I'd have been like, Sergeant, I need to do an OR. I accidentally discharged my taser into my driveway. Oh, what a great way to start this episode, telling stories about coworkers. That has coworkers that listen to it, aka
Yeah.
Dav. All right, Fuzz. Now
What?
is your moment to shine.
I don't want to shine.
We want to know. How's your new position?
It's lovely. I'm in an air-conditioned office all day. Don't have to deal with people.
Yeah. What do you do?
I am now the Area Command Intelligence Officer.
Yeah, we know that, but like, what do you do?
I compile crime stats and submit them to the lieutenant and the captain so they can come with a crime-fighting plan.
Can you make it sound any more boring than that?
Yes, seriously.
When's the last time you had to pat down a vagrant?
Probably a week ago. A couple weeks ago now. I've only been in this job for a week.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, it's like on the job, like you don't need to do that anymore.
No.
So what's the most fun you've had in the new position so far? You're like, what, a week, 2 weeks in?
Probably we had this meeting with all the security chiefs down on Fremont discussing how we're going to move forward with everything going on in the tourist corridor lately.
Interesting. So who conducts those meetings?
The captain usually MCs them, and then we as the ACIO will usually take notes and be part of the discussion and stuff.
And is that basically that's security working with the police to combat the violent crime and such?
It's a idea sharing, like
Brainstorming.
right, coming up with ideas. So like, I won't name properties, but certain properties have like they've implemented certain procedures and it's just idea sharing that maybe other properties haven't thought of, so that they can be like, oh, you know what, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, they need it down there. I went kind of leading into my story, take the spotlight off Fuzz because I know he hates being in the spotlight. I went down there. It was a Friday night, and they have a First Friday like celebration. I don't even know. It's just a special event. It used to be really special. They'd have like bands and stuff that were free and such. Now it's really just I don't even know. Nothing's open. The bars aren't open.
Are you talking about the festivities down on Fremont East or the Arts District?
Fremont East.
Oh. Yeah, well, that was another thing. Part of the meeting was, so all those bars and all those businesses down there, because it's so bad, they don't want to open. Like, they've, again, I'm not going to name companies, but there was like a GM that came that kind of helps represent all those properties.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, the owners are they're like camping out on their roofs, watching their businesses, and they just don't want to open because it's just
Yeah.
It's just
not the clientele they want.
We don't have it as bad here as other places, but like I said, I went down there and It was the first Friday. There's really nothing open. They hang out down under the canopy, but eventually they get pushed out because they have cleaning procedures that they have to use because of all the corona stuff. Well, I was on a different channel and I'm on my motorcycle. I didn't plan on going down there. In fact, I didn't even like connect that it was an actual like first Friday like festivity thing. Um, I didn't connect the two until I actually got down there and was like, oh yeah, I had to switch channels for this. So yeah, it's like I used to work this. I know what's going on now. But it was too late because I was already down there and involved. Well, they sent out an alert basically to everybody nearby saying like, hey, the units down here just like had a reckless driver and an assault or battery with a deadly weapon. And the way it was broadcast, it made it sound like basically I took it like, okay, somebody's trying to ram people. So I was like all over that. I was like, are they still mobile? Which way were they last seen? What's the description of the vehicle? Right? Like I'm on my motorcycle, I'm gonna go find them. Well, I switch over and all I hear is like, oh, there's a fight over here, oh, there's a fight over here, oh, this person's running from cops. Like, we need people to control this intersection and this intersection. So me and another motorcycle cop link up on our way there and we go to an intersection, kind of do a little circle. They're like, hey, block it here. And we're like, okay. And I kid you not, this is like all happens within, I don't know, 3 minutes of each other, right? I hear it. I go down there. I switch over. I figure out where they want me and I park my motorcycle. I get off. I put my helmet on the mirror where it goes. I grab a drink of water and then I turn around and I hear like screaming and yelling and hollering. And somebody is agitating the crowd, which is, we usually don't go after people that are breaking a minor law, right? Like standing in the roadway or jaywalking. We don't go after them unless they're an agitator. Basically, people mess up, people make mistakes, or it's not worth it making a big deal out of somebody that's just trying to get across the street when there's no cars coming. But if you are standing in the roadway and now you're throwing stuff or pushing people or trying to cause a fight, you're committing more than those crimes and you're causing that crowd to either fight each other or fight cops, like whatever have you. Well, this one gentleman was agitating, and when I turned around, there was like 5 officers chasing after him. Now we're on the intersection and they were at the northwest corner and I was at the southeast corner. And this gentleman runs from the north side of the street to the south side and then runs from the west side of the street towards the east. Well, if you know directions at all, he basically ran right towards me. And he runs, he tries to like cut right, sees all our motorcycles, tries to cut off left, and then I just tackle him. And I'm a motorcycle cop in my motorcycle boots, right? So I grab him, and then all of a sudden the 6 cops that were chasing him come and hit all of us.
They finally caught up.
So yeah, they caught up because I grabbed him. But they had too much momentum to stop, I guess, because it's like, I mean, you've seen the guys down there now, they're 6'4", 300 pounds coming after you. So they run into us. I throw him on the ground because I'm like, I'm not falling to the ground with these guys on top of me. I'm going to be pissed. I like catch myself, whatever, get back up, move to the side. And then this guy's brother starts running over and he's like, that's my brother, like yelling as he like dives to like jump into the pile of cops and people. And so we grab him and pull him off. And from then they just turned into a nightmare. And that was kind of the start of just a mess of a week. So I had, that was on a Friday night, and then I had my weekend, and then Tuesday night it was a mess, right? Wednesday night it was a mess. Thursday night it was a mess. And then Friday was kind of relaxed again. So hopefully going into next week, it's calmed down. But being down there as part of that first Friday, it was interesting because we had to make a skirmish line. We had to push people out of the area. We basically had to saturate the area, bring people in. And that's essentially the same way we treat things on like 4th of July, New Year's, all of these holidays and it all comes back to our counterterrorism and procedures and operations and such.
Falling back on training.
Yeah.
We've had rough first Fridays, but I don't think there's ever been a first Friday where we've had to do a skirmish line.
Yeah.
I know like Mahar was telling me that they had a couple like that, and honestly, like it was typical First Friday stuff. It was just the way we handled it was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it was handled well, and I don't have anything really bad to say about the leadership that took charge of it, because they did probably handled it in the best way. Now, me personally, I may have implemented other things, or I wanted to implement other things, let's say, but I also don't have that trading that they have and that bigger picture outlook that they have. So
Hmm.
I don't have anything bad to say about it. It was handled well. But I've always, all of my New Year's Eves, 4th of July's, everything has been down there. I've never had like any other tourist area or spot for New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Rossix, what's your story about? I know it
Mm,
ties into our topic about law enforcement's role in counterterrorism, so we'll
yeah.
let you lead into that.
So it pops into the same thing. So this is actually way back at the beginning when little Roxy was first on the
Little
department.
Roxy.
Little Roxy. It actually involves Dab. So if he's listening this week, it pulls him into it. But when we had our very first New Year's Eve, they had us down on the boulevard in front of the casinos, and pretty much all you were looking for was anybody that had something that was, restricted by what was down there. So there were like no coolers, no backpacks. There were a couple of things that you weren't allowed to have. So when we saw people with that, we'd pull them over to the side, check them out, make sure that they didn't have anything that they shouldn't have had, like walking around out there around large groups of people. So we actually see these guys walking, two of them, walking with backpacks. We stop both of them, bring them to the other side of the gate, and we start to talk to them. Well, they identify themselves with, I believe it was either passports or they had IDs from another state. I don't remember which one it was. But the weird thing about it is that their names were exactly the same on their IDs, like first name, middle name, last name, like exactly the same, spelled the same. It was really odd. So we ended up like asking them, like, well, where are you guys from? We couldn't identify them properly. They actually let us go into their backpack, and we actually found it's kind of hard to explain it. They're like a slingshot, so it's pretty much like a ball attached to a string, like a heavy weight with a string on it that you swing around like really fast, and then you let go of it, and it could do some pretty serious damage. So each one of them had one in their backpacks. So because of this, we ended up calling out like counterterrorism, who was just down the street, and they came down and like interrogated him. And us being brand new, we're like, oh, these detectives are out here doing this investigation, and they're grilling these guys, and we're waiting for them to pull out the light and shine it in their faces where they were last week. And it was nothing really big. It's just they had these weapons. They said, yeah, we had them in our bag to protect ourselves, but I don't know like what country you come from where you decide that a slung is the best weapon to protect yourself with. But they ended up going to jail for having a concealed deadly weapon because it actually fits an NRS. So yeah, so that was a bunch of us out there. It was just interesting because that's not something you see, especially as a beginning officer.
Yeah, were their names legit though? Like it was their real names?
We arrested them under those names. I mean, that's what we
Oh,
used, but it was really odd that they
interesting.
had like the same IDs. Their pictures, they looked
Yeah.
like they were brothers. Like they could have been brothers, but they weren't, and everything matched up exactly the same. It was really odd.
Hmm. Interesting. With with weird weapons.
Yeah, it's that's why it was so weird to like what we pulled them out and looked at them, we're like, what are these? And one of the other like FTOs out there was like, oh, we need to call somebody.
We need to call somebody. Um, I mean, that's what we take very good care of our tourist corridors, and we take very good care of our tourists in town.
Hmm.
And so any of that stuff, man, is counterterrorism is actually a huge thing for us in our
Well,
city.
yeah, we want people to come here and feel safe.
Exactly. And it's we're seeing it now with, and we've kind of talked about it in the past, like with this whole like pandemic or epidemic or whatever it's called that we're believing.
Hmm.
We see how it's affecting our town, how it's affecting our incomes, our revenue, all of that. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But that's what we worry about with counterterrorism as well. We're going to go into our role in counterterrorism, kind of some training we get, some resources we have. Fuzz, can you kind of list these out for us, and then we'll go in and explain each one?
So here locally in Southern Nevada, we have what's called the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. We kind of have a nickname for them on the department. I won't go into that, but they're the Counterterrorism Center. They have access to all the cameras down on Fremont, on the Strip, all these other tools that we as patrol don't have access to. They work directly with the FBI, from what I understand. I don't know. They're kind of a mystery. We know what we can use them for, but I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that they do that we're not aware of. Part of our response training, we call it MACTAC. I think I discussed this in another episode. I finally know what it means. Multi-assault counterterrorism action capabilities, or MACTAC. That's kind of our counterterrorism training. That part of that training is getting there and taking care of the problem, containing it, ending the threat, and then turning over into that investigative role and figuring out what happened. But the important part of MACTAC is getting there and dealing with the problem and slowing it down and slowing the momentum and de-escalating it as quickly as possible. Part of the Counterterrorism Center is also the Counterterrorism Section, which would be what Roxas talked about with getting counterterrorism detectives out. They also work with the FBI. The tourist corridor. What do you want me to talk about with that one?
Oh my goodness.
You're like, what can I say?
Yeah.
We kind of already talked about like the tourist corridor and terrorism, how we protect those areas a lot. And so if something's happening in a neighboring area, we'll lock a lot of those places down. Where we've had instances where people are running from police or are seen driving erratic or reckless, and we'll work together with the city marshals or highway patrol to shut down specific areas so that those individuals don't, either for the purpose of committing terroristic acts or just by driving into that area and maybe not knowing, causing people to be put at risk, we'll shut those areas down. So, and I know you guys have been part of that, right? When we had that one reckless driver coming down towards Fremont, it might have been a First Friday or something. Didn't you guys have?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, a couple times.
We kind of blocked them off and prevented them from coming down on Fremont. But that's also part of MACTAC and protecting critical infrastructure. So
yeah, so just that's a great way to put it. It's part of our critical infrastructure, and we kind of have a little bit of a, I don't want to say a leeway or a loophole, but a little bit of urgency when it comes to those areas.
Yep. And then of course we also have see something, say something, which is something here locally that's posted at the airport and hotels and stuff like that, where if you see something suspicious, say something so officers can investigate it.
Yeah, it never hurts to let people do their job and investigate things.
Yeah.
Just don't be a Karen. Enough said.
Which is how a lot of our stuff ends up, because stuff here that might seem weird to you is normal to us.
You know what I loved is when we were working Fremont and the cameras. So the Counterterrorism Center, I've never been up there, but there's basically a ton of cameras from what I understand. And they're really good cameras. Like they can read your text messages on your phone, basically.
Yeah.
If you're at the right angle, I guess. Well, when they got on the radio and they're like, yeah, I think we maybe had somebody call in saying like, oh, someone had a open to carry firearm, which is legal in the state of Nevada. And they got on the radio and like, oh yeah, like he's smoking, like it might be marijuana. It's like, how do you know that? Like, how do you even come up with that? You're on a
Like-
camera. You can't smell it.
You're like, oh, that's definitely a joint. I can smell it from here.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I guess if the cameras are good enough to like zoom in and see that it's like self-rolled and stuff.
Yeah, but even
I don't
then, I mean, you could self-roll a cigarette.
True.
You
True.
think someone walking around with an AR might roll their own cigarettes? America.
Exactly. It's some dude. So we had a wreck this week that my partner went on, and he sent out a picture of the car because it was a rollover, and I'll post the picture maybe, but it looks like Dwight Schrute's car from The Office. That's what it is. And one of my partners said something along the lines of like, "Oh no, is Dwight okay?" And then he responded, and I'm trying to find the message here. His response was hilarious, and I don't know if it's true or not. No idea. It says he had a bleached blonde mullet, wearing a jean jacket with no sleeves, and legit a Rick James cassettes scattered all over his car.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
like, America, bro. America's finest. Anyways, back on topic, I guess.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think we went out there and like talked to the guy, but it was nothing. But we'll still go out there and talk to people if we have a reason to. I know I've like seen people walking and like you can tell that they have a gun on them, or we had one guy that like had a gun tucked in his waistband, but it was visible, like his shirt was kind of like uncovered it a little bit, and so we were just like, yo bro, like what are you doing? Like why are you walking around with your gun half out half in, like it looks suspicious? And he just didn't know that his shirt came up to show it.
Oh. So you did have a CCW?
Yeah, he did. But it was like, it just looked weird at first. So when he like walked right next to us, we were like, what the heck? We're like, hey bro, come here. In case you didn't know, your gun's hanging out.
It's not really a CCW if you can see it though.
Well, it was like
Well,
just the handle.
That's just
like,
people in general.
So it was easily discernible as a firearm?
I wouldn't say easily discernible. To me, yes. Because I know what they look like and I handle them and I train with them and I dive into that. Like I've seen somebody, I was working overtime and somebody walked past me and I looked like, cause we look at people, right? That's what we do. It's part of our training. Like you look at people, see their mannerisms, see how they're walking, see what they had. Like you look at their waistband, see if you can see anything. You look at their pockets. It's just part of our training and something that we do even without realizing it. And this one dude walked in wearing a tank top and shorts, and I look at him as he goes past, and I can see the bottom of a Glock magazine, and I could tell that he had a Glock in his right pocket. Like, just, is it still concealed? Yes, but
Just printing.
it wasn't even I could see in his. I'm talking like legit, like in his pocket. It was just the bulk of the gun.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Kept the pocket open a little bit, so it's completely concealed. But
Because
If you were
nobody
just
owns a
looking at 'em.
holster. Like everyone just shoves their gun in the most random places. They're like, "Oh, I need a gun today, but I don't have a holster, so we're just gonna go in my pocket today."
well, and we didn't even stop that guy because there was nothing else suspicious. There was nothing else weird about it, and just seeing a gun isn't enough to stop somebody.
Yeah,
I
see
just
what
want
you
to stop him and ask him what he was thinking.
Exactly. I think I told, because I think when I saw it, I like tapped my overtime partner and I was like, dude has a pistol in his right pocket. And he's like, huh? I was like, I mean,
Yeah,
I
never
just
mind.
saw it as I walked by. But I was like, I'm pretty sure it's not in a holster. Like, it's people like that screw it up for everybody else. Honestly,
Yeah.
it really is. Because something's going to happen and it's either going to go off in his pocket and shoot his leg, or he's going to try to use it and shoot himself. Like,
Yeah. Anyway, back to the topic.
yeah, back to the topic. Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center, they also do like a lot of workups for us. Like they'll look people up and research them. Like if we're on some sort of incident where we're trying to identify somebody or
Right.
figure
So
out who's in a house and such.
Like the
their
jumper.
roles aren't solely the tourist corridor. They cover the whole valley, the whole southern Nevada. So if we have a violent incident that's occurring, maybe a domestic or something, and we need a workup, we need to know who's inside, they can do that using DMV records and whatever other databases they have.
They use the license plate readers and all of that stuff too, right? They basically
Yeah,
have
they
all
do.
our technology.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that's where all of our technical stuff is, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, while we're on this portion of the topic, how dumb do you have to be to come to a place covered in cameras and commit crimes?
Oh yeah.
Maybe people just don't realize it. Maybe people should listen to this episode to understand that there's cameras everywhere.
Well, I mean, they
Yeah.
are coming from a certain state over here to commit crime. So, I mean, is it that
I've
much
seen
of a
lot
surprise?
of- true, but I've seen a lot of like just ton of different states, ton of different everybody from everywhere is coming here because it's cheap. So it's interesting to see. MACTAC, the counterterrorism training, the multi-assault counterterrorism action capabilities. Gosh,
I've
it's
heard
such a
that.
long name.
I've heard that as multi-agency counterterrorism action capabilities. So
Yeah, I guess
when
it
I looked
depends
it up,
on
it
when you're
said
looking at it.
right because it's not just our training. It's the
Mhm.
firefighters are trained in this. Other agencies like Highway Patrol's trained in this.
We're all
That's where
trained
we
the
get the
same
whole
way, so that when we
right.
do have to
Yes.
work together, we're all on the same page, kind of thing.
And that's one thing I saw on October 1st was we all like you could have a an HB guy jump into your stack and y'all know what you're doing because you're all
Yep.
trained the same way, even though you're from different
Exactly.
agencies. So
Well, and we utilize it for like civil unrest and such.
yeah,
Are they the same? The SAT team does the like special people detail, right?
They have
Like
a
when,
laundry list of stuff that they do.
yeah,
but they're the ones that do like when the president comes to town. They do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, they do
Homeland
that
Yeah.
kind of
Security type stuff.
thing. Yeah.
Because does MacTac do that too? I feel like there was a MacTac like on New Year's, like they deploy and walk around like in plain clothes with like rifles and backpacks and stuff. I feel like I heard that. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if MacTac jumps in with SAT whenever they have dignitaries come to town.
Hmm.
I'm not 100% on that.
That's interesting. I kind of want to. That would be nice to figure out because I feel like I heard that somewhere, but I don't know if it's true because I'm not sure if maybe MacTac is just the training people, like the training side of it, and then
Maybe.
they don't actually go and do it. They're just the instructors for it. I don't know.
Yeah, let's say maybe they're in
Yeah.
other areas and they just come together to teach it. Yeah, I don't know. The next time we get a MacTac activation, we'll ask them.
Ask them in the training portion of it, which is something. So we do this training. It's mandatory, and we do it often where they randomly activate us, and we have to go and do our procedure and protocol for it. And kind of get, I don't want to say get tested on it, but they're waiting there for you, and depending on who your instructor is, it can get a little tense sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't go into that because I kind of disagree with it. But
With the training, or
I disagree with the way they do it. How they activate you as a squad and then expect you as the lone squad to go and handle this when that's not how it's going to go down in the real world.
yeah,
It's going to be a clusterfuck in the real world.
agreed.
It's
But
gonna be a mess.
we've seen it recently with you guys working like the protests and stuff.
Yeah, that's more like MacTac's part of that, but that's also more like SAT runs it when it happens.
True. But I'm just saying, just the activation part of it. The activation part of it is
definitely
the same protocol and
Yeah, it
such.
is.
So
And just to touch on that for the listeners is when we have a civil unrest that's getting out of hand, And what Officer Polsey talked about with the MacTac activation, you'll have squads from other areas that are just kind of doing their thing, and then something bad happens somewhere else in the valley, and then they do what's called a MacTac activation, and they basically take one of those squads that are at home and send them to where they need them. That's kind of what it is.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I'm picking up what you're throwing down. For me, coming over to motors, right? It's very similar, but it's also different. And it's weird because we're all over. So, and we haven't had a training since I've been up here yet for it. But I know they basically want us to go in with you guys, but kind of be more of the containment side of it, which is a little bit weird. Policy says something more along the lines of like, we're still responsible for influx and outflux of traffic and kind of the outer perimeter of taking care of people getting out and such.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm 100% guessing that is with where you're at. Because if you're right there, if I'm around the corner from something, at the end of the day, I'm still a cop. Like, I'm going. I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm around the corner. I'll stop traffic here.
Gonna hold short.
You know what I mean? Depending on if there's other resources there. Like, I have been to things where I understand, hey, I'm on a motorcycle. You guys are in a cop car. I'm going to pull over, block traffic. You guys can handle this. I'm just doing my job. Have you guys ever thought about going up to the counterterrorism section?
You mean to work or doing a ride along?
Either. Like, is it something that interests you?
Could be.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess.
Depends on how you look at it, because it's like, I like the technology and the information side of it, but I still kind of want a run and gun kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. The only time I've ever dealt with them has been on the detective level. Do they go out and... Fuzz, weren't you saying something about the gentleman from, what is it, Armenia? He used to be ex-Special Forces in Armenia or something.
Oh,
He used to work downtown.
Yeah.
Didn't he go up there and he said that they go out and patrol and do stuff?
Oh god, that was so long ago. He said they do something. I don't remember. It's not all like desk work. He said they do something. Like
And
they
he's
do.
part of the center team. I mean, it's still kind of it's still part of the counterterrorism section, but he's not on the detective level. He's on the...
Last I heard, but this was a long time ago. This
Really?
was like sometime last year.
But
But
he'd be
yeah.
a great candidate for that. I mean, that's right up his alley.
Yeah. Truth be told, I don't know exactly what they do. The whole counterterrorism thing is all it's kind of kept secret even from patrol. Like we just call them and they kind of handle it. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's because of things like this. They don't want like
Yeah.
us to come out here and talk about what they do.
They handle it and then they shoo you away.
With the tourist corridor and terrorism, we already talked about that and hit on that a lot. Basically, it's what we're talking about. Like we have counterterrorism because of our infrastructures that we have, and then see something, say something. I mean, we already touched on it, already hit it all. It's legitimately like you see something weird, call somebody, whether it's security, whether it's the cops. If you see something weird, you can always call somebody.
Yeah. But
Don't
you
just
have
ignore it.
you have a story about calling out counterterrorism detectives, don't you?
Yeah, I've had to deal with them a couple of different times. The one I think you're referring to is from downtown, and it was a little bit...
The time I had to get you dinner.
Yeah, because it took forever. We were on it all night, and it was... So I don't even fully completely remember the entire incident. We went to a house to look for somebody for them, or to look at something for them, or see if there was a vehicle there or whatnot. And it basically came down to somebody that used somebody else's identity or used a stolen identity and like a stolen credit card. They were buying high volumes of ammo and trying to buy guns, and it honestly, it comes down to see something, say something, because that store that they purchased the ammo at and was dealing with recognized that it wasn't the same person and that it was a stolen credit card and a stolen identity. And then they called that in, and that's what started the effect and the investigation. Now, whatever they do to figure out where everybody's at or to figure out who they're in, it might have been as easy as that person calling and saying like, hey, somebody in this car with this license plate just came and bought this stuff and their credit card's stolen. We just got a call from whoever about it. It might have been as easy as that. It might have been harder to where they, did detective stuff, went down to the store, watched video, saw that they
Yeah.
made a right turn out of the entrance to the store. So they went down the street on their right turn and looked for camera footage and such, trying to identify them. It ended up being an all-night thing because they came out, they did a search warrant because they were able to locate the receipt through the window of the car. So the car that they used was there, and in the cup holder of the car was the receipt for 2,000 rounds of ammo. And you can see it from the window, which is, if you guys know your criminal justice and your case law, if you're legally placed and legally standing somewhere where anybody could stand and anybody could see, then it's considered plain view, which is an exception to the Fourth Amendment, which is an exception to search and seizure. We are neither searching that car, we are neither seizing that car. We are simply standing where anybody can stand and looking through a window that anybody can look through, and we can see that. So there's no privacy.
Expectation of privacy.
Yeah, there's no expectation of privacy for that receipt in that car. But it gives us enough to then get a search warrant to unlock that car and search all the little nooks and crannies and cracks and pockets and everything in that car because the judge approves that. So that's basically what happened, is using that receipt, they got a search warrant for the car, they towed it, they got a search warrant for the house. We knocked on the door. The mom answered. She was super cool with us. They were really nice. They got a search warrant, and they only ransacked like the actual room of the individual involved. They didn't go through the
Right.
whole house to cause mom any issues or anything like that.
Which is rare, but
Yes,
mom was nice, so
yeah, mom was super nice. And in fact, mom called suspect and she put it on speaker and she's like, hey, the cops are here. She's like, don't let them in without a warrant, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, well, we already got that, so good luck.
I do remember this call now. I think I was on patrol for that day.
You may have been.
Yeah, I think
You may have been.
I was let free from the bike box, and I got to do patrol that day, and I ended up over there in the first place.
Now that you think about it, you might have pulled up with us and did like the knock and talk. Did you do the knock and talk with us?
Yeah, I was there. I was there when the guy was trying to pop the car open. You had like
Oh, okay.
AAA
Yeah.
or whatever, the ABC lock or whatever. He was the one trying to lock the car because he had one of those window things. Like he was putting it through the
Yeah.
window, and it was hilarious because he was having a heck of a time.
Left. No, right.
Yeah, hit
The
the button. Hit the button. Grab the lever.
That ABC lock guy was always the funny. He always showed up at the randomest times, like just randomly. He would like pop up out of nowhere, like, "Oh, you guys need me to unlock that? We
Yeah.
didn't call you, did we? But yeah, we need you." He'd always leave a card. Then we gave all the cards to Turner because Turner locked his keys in
Oh
the car.
yeah, I think I still have 2 in my pocket. But yeah, I used to stick them in his car all the time.
Go give them to Turner.
Oh.
I had another one where and Roxas is gonna love this because of his PSA. This dude, we had to take an accident report all the way out at the lake on the Boulder City side, which I was like, yo, like it's in Boulder City's jurisdiction. But the reason we took it is because it was considered a counterterrorism investigation because he ran into chlorine gas tanks.
Oh.
And I guess if he would have been going like 5 miles an hour faster or penetrated the building like another 5 feet or something like that, it would have caused an explosion that wiped out like a 25-mile radius of everybody that was there. So because of the gas. So they treated it as a counterterrorism investigation. But he was really just super high on drugs. And he actually thought he was in Utah because out there in the middle of nowhere, when you drive around in circles for 4 hours, you think you've been traveling, but you weren't. And he was just, I remember 2 of our officers went out to the actual plant because what happened is he was driving around and then he saw these other cars. So he got in line with these other cars and security just let everybody in.
Oh.
So now he's inside the plant, lost, driving in circles, and wrecks into one of these tanks or one of these buildings housing the tanks, something like that. 2 of our officers were out there. I met him at the hospital, and he was pretty chill at first, but he was super bipolar about it. Not like legit bipolar, but up and down, just with his being on drugs and stuff. I could go in and talk to him, kind of get him to chill, relax, and then like he would get upbeat, a little hyped up, upset, and then back down again eventually. Well, I remember he kept trying to, he was in custody while I was doing my DUI thing, and he kept trying to get up and leave. So I was like, oh, like, you want to leave? Like, yeah, just no problem. Just turn around so I can take all these wires off of you. And he turned around and I put him in handcuffs and then strapped him down to the bed. And I was like, yeah, he's going to stay in handcuffs till I'm done because he's in custody. So, and they're like, oh, okay. Security's like standing next to him the whole time. But they came out and like met me at the jail. They wanted copies of all my reports. They wanted to go talk to him. And I told him, I was like, no, he's just high. Like 100%. He's just high. Not a counterterrorism thing, but they still had to do their counterterrorism investigation.
Interesting.
Those are just a couple. I don't think I've had any other ones besides those ones, other than the typical ones where it's like, is this a bomb? Is this not a bomb?
Yeah.
Should we call somebody? Should we not? Should we just go up and kick it?
Yeah.
I
Should we
always
tell
kick
one of
it.
the homeless guys to go kick it?
Yeah. Here's $5. Go kick that bag.
That wasn't a joke.
For
Yeah,
legal
for legal
reasons.
reasons, that was totally a
Yeah,
joke.
totally a joke.
Totally a joke.
Uh,
All right, Roxas, you got a PSA for us?
yeah, it just blends right into it. Don't do drugs. Just as South Park would say, okay. Don't do drugs, okay. That's it. Just stop, because everything that we've seen these last couple of weeks have been people high out of their mind doing outrageous things in the middle of the street. Like, I would like to say some of them, but I don't want to ruin people's minds with the things that I've seen just in the last 2 weeks with people high out of their minds.
Yeah, same.
The amount of naked people I've seen this week is it's more than I've wanted to see in a long time. Wow, it's
They're not the kind of naked people you want to see.
not at all. Nope.
Oh man, I do need to add a comment to my story about tackling this guy, right? Well, then this is the best part about it, because once that all happened is when it kind of got out of control, and I was talking to like Mahar and Smith and Dav, and I was like, hey, just like old times, eh? Like nothing's changed, you know, typical First Friday. Well, I went over to, and as I've talked about in the past, like as long as people are cool with me, I don't mind being cool with them. Like, hey, you tried to get away, you didn't make it. Like, be respectful about it, and we're good. Like, I don't blame you. Whatever. Well, I walk over to this guy and this is like hours later. I walk over to him and I asked the officer, I was like, hey, is he cool? And as I walk up, he's like, oh yeah, it was that guy with the big boots. And and so I asked the officer, I was like, hey, is he cool? And he's like, yeah, he's chill. We're just talking. I was like, bro, you ran right to us. Like, what were you thinking? He's like, yeah, like I didn't realize it. And then I tried to juke you because I thought I could because, you know, you're in those boots. But I didn't juke you right. And you got me. And I was like, hey, man, like, it's all good. It's just like next time, don't try to run off. Don't be dumb. And then Dav came up to me afterwards. He's like, I better hear about this on the podcast.
Well, here you go, Dav.
Yeah, here you go. Special shout out. That's basically it. That's all I got.
Yep. It's been fun.
You know, it sucks we can't go more in depth into this stuff, but it's very touchy subject. I don't like
It is. And
sharing stuff. So
it's something that like the reason we bring this up and the reason we want to do this episode is because whether you were alive, whether you remember, whether it affected you individually or not, September 11th changed everything for everybody. And I mean, I remember where I was at. Everything changed for everybody. And that includes the way we react to stuff or protect things and the way our policies and procedures and and how we deploy. So, but it's kind of a closed subject, and we don't want to share those things that we might know that is sensitive, because that's not how we roll. We're not here to get you guys out of trouble, but we will attempt to help you stay out of trouble.
Yeah. The Counterterrorism Center is very good at what they do, and they will find you.
They will. And usually it's faster than you think as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Roxas, you ready to go to work?
No, but I guess I will.
I love how you were like, oh, don't do drugs. There are a lot of naked people, but I don't know. Do you enjoy going to those calls? Are you always the first one on scene on those calls?
I seem to be in the intersection with them when they're there. Like, I'm the one that gets flagged down.
He was following them, watching them disrobe themselves.
Now then I call it out.
It's like-
Leave.
He's like, oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
Take off the underwear. Okay, now I'll get involved.
Okay, now I'm tackling that guy.
He just unzipped his pants.
Like, oh, here we go.
Now I'll call
Once
it
the
out.
underwear comes off, I'm getting involved.
Yeah.
That's too far.
Yep.
All right, guys. Next week, we will be talking about law enforcement and security working together, what we like, what we don't like, what they don't like, everything. We're going to go over all of it. So my security guards out there listening, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that notification, get it as soon as it goes live. Everybody else, if you're thinking about being a cop, if you tried to be a cop and you're now security, we're going to talk about all of this. It's going to be juicy. Okay?
Juicy.
So check out episode 13 next week, law enforcement and security. Other than that, thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the stories. Stay safe. Have a